If the ASPCA, Anti-Cruelty Society, PETA, and others want to help abused animals, they must immediately stop conducting their own investigations and instead become advocates for a proper and widespread response to animal cruelty by public law enforcement. This is a repeat of some information previously provided, but it is critically important for understanding why these organizations should not be investigating or responding to animal cruelty. Violent crimes can happen anytime, any place. Only public law enforcement is available 24 hours a day, most everywhere, to respond. No one else is as capable of responding to crimes in progress. Crimes in progress, especially violent crimes, must receive an appropriate, timely response. If domestic violence, for example, is not responded to by public law enforcement, and if responding to domestic violence is left in the hands of special teams and private nonprofit organizations, there will be an explosion of domestic violence. If police do not respond appropriately to in-progress domestic violence calls, and if the public relies upon private organizations and special teams to do investigations, practically every domestic violence offender will never get arrested, and the crime will grow exponentially. This is how it is when it comes to dogfighting and animal cruelty. When these crimes are in progress, the law enforcement response is poor, with few exceptions. The acceptance that animal cruelty and dogfighting can be investigated after the fact, while accepting a poor police response when the crimes are in progress, means almost all animal cruelty and dogfighting offenders never get arrested. Victims of violent crimes, including animal cruelty and dogfighting, cannot wait for special police teams or animal organization humane investigators to respond. Dogfighting and animal cruelty are poorly responded to when in progress, and rarely responded to appropriately when unviewed by public law enforcement. If violent crimes are not responded to properly when in progress, and if they are ignored when police unview these crimes, then the crimes grow unchecked. It is often ineffective, even harmful, when animal abuse and dogfighting are investigated by special police teams or by humane investigators fielded by nonprofit animal organizations. Many are the times when animal abusers and dogfighters move their animals to another location after getting paid a visit by a humane investigator or by another investigator. What is needed is for public law enforcement or at large to respond appropriately to 911 calls for animal cruelty and dogfighting, and to respond appropriately when unviewing animal cruelty and dogfighting. Every effort that diverts from this being achieved benefits animal abusers and dogfighters. Most humane investigators do not have law enforcement powers, which makes their investigations toothless at best. Those that do have law enforcement powers, whether they are employed by private sector nonprofit organizations or are assigned by police departments to investigate animal cruelty, do little more than give larger public law enforcement an excuse to continue doing little to nothing about animal cruelty and dogfighting. Token police teams assigned by a police department or by an animal organization to investigate animal cruelty are nothing more than public relation ploys that enable police departments and other public law enforcement to poorly respond to animal cruelty related crimes. Humane investigators can play a role in helping animals. They can assist people that have animals that are not properly cared for in the many instances where animal care needs to be improved but does not rise to the level of actual cruelty or abuse. They must stop conducting criminal investigations they have no business conducting. No animal organization has any business investigating animal cruelty. They have created a false impression that something meaningful is being done about animal cruelty and dogfighting. The more the public thinks they are the answer to animal cruelty, the more money pours their way in donations. If animal organizations want to help, they must become advocates for police to respond appropriately and in a widespread manner to animal cruelty and dogfighting. They can also assist police departments in removing animals from crime scenes if needed, and by providing shelter if needed for the animals until a judge decides that the seizure is justified. Because this does not keep the illusion going that certain animal organizations are the answer to animal cruelty, this does not happen. The dysfunctional status quo means dogfighters have a greater chance of getting struck by lightning than ever getting arrested for dogfighting. Few animal abusers are arrested despite animal cruelty being a common, occurring, widespread crime. Animal cruelty is an easy crime for police to enforce if things ever change for the better and they start widespreadly enforcing these crimes, and that the physical evidence of the crime is most often visible and it is easy to document. Sadistic people continue burning, starving, torturing, fighting, beating, and mutilating animals with rarely anything being done to stop them. No anti-domestic violence or anti-drunk driving organization conducts their own criminal investigations. Instead, they advocate for police to respond broadly and appropriately to those crimes. If they investigated those crimes on their own and did not hold police accountable, domestic violence and drunk driving would be out of control. What is needed is for public law enforcement at large to respond appropriately to 911 calls for animal cruelty and dogfighting, and to respond appropriately when on viewing animal cruelty and dogfighting. Everything else, token anti-animal abuse police teams, humane investigators, nonprofit animal organization, anti-cruelty investigations, and so forth, are only ineffective window dressing that maintains a dysfunctional pathological status quo. The priority for all crimes, animal cruelty, dogfighting, domestic violence, battery, and so forth, is for a timely and appropriate police response when these crimes are in progress. Failing to respond appropriately to in-progress crimes and crimes that are unviewed by law enforcement, including animal cruelty and dogfighting, means missing the most critically important opportunities for stopping these crimes. Is it ethical for a private nonprofit organization to investigate any crime, including animal cruelty, when the public already pays through their taxes for public law enforcement to perform this task? If public law enforcement is not properly doing their job in responding to a crime, including for animal cruelty, then it is the responsibility for an organization concerned about animal cruelty to ensure that there is a better police response. No organization should use the poor police response as the excuse for why they should be the ones investigating a crime. Unfortunately, this is not the case. The poor police response to animal cruelty and dogfighting is exploited by a number of animal organizations who use this opportunity to present themselves as the answer to animal cruelty. By presenting themselves as the answer to animal cruelty, they create a false narrative that generates money and publicity for themselves. No animal organization, even if they were far more successful and competent than they are now at responding to animal cruelty, can come anywhere close in effectiveness to what public law enforcement can achieve. To repeat the same message said for decades now to these organizations, only to fall on deliberately deaf ears: help animals. Stop investigating animal cruelty and instead be advocates that fight for the police to respond appropriately and in a widespread manner.